This is my new long-term test bike. It's a Bold Unplugged, which I'm going to be riding and experimenting with over the next 12 months. I think it should be right up my street because it's one of the most adjustable, customizable bikes on the market right now. The elephant in the room has got to be the fact that it's got no shock, or at least visibly. The shock is actually hidden inside the seat tube, and it's pretty much a conventional horst-link suspension design, except the upper rocker link, half of it is hidden inside the seat tube and it compresses the shock from above. A bit like you'd get on something like a Scott Ransom, except the front of that rocker link is hidden inside the frame. Bold say that they've done this to protect the shock from debris or rocks if you crash on the bike. They also say that it allows them to make the tube straighter so that they can make this frame stiffer and lighter. But really I think it's probably just because it looks cool. I'm going to be intrigued to see how tricky it is to adjust air pressure or rebound damping. You have to unscrew 2 bolts and remove a little plate underneath the down tube in order to access the shock. I'm the kind of person who takes a shock pump with me on almost every ride, so I'm a bit concerned it's going to be a bit fiddly to make adjustments. Another really cool USP of this bike is the geometry and how adjustable it is. So in the chainstay pivot, the horst-link pivot if you like, it's got flip chips, and there are 2 different flip chips, so 2 different offsets, which between them give 4 different positions for that chainstay pivot. And that has 3 effects. Firstly, it changes the rear center length from 433 to 444 millimeters. Now, along with that change in chainstay length comes a drop in the bottom bracket height. So the longest chainstay corresponds to a lower bottom bracket by 20 milliliters versus the shortest, highest setting. This is done partly to allow you to tune the geometry to your tastes, but it's also to account for different wheel sizes. So with a bigger wheel and a bigger tire, you're going to need more chainstay clearance, so you'll need a longer back end. And you'll also want a greater bottom bracket drop to maintain the same bottom bracket height. So this does allow you to experiment a bit with geometry, but it's also there to allow you to use different wheel sizes and different tire widths. Extending the chainstay has another effect, which is that it increases the travel slightly. So in the shortest setting you get 161 millimeters of travel, and in the longest you get 165. I'm quite a big fan of big wheels and big tires and low bottom bracket heights, so I think I'll probably end up sticking with the longest, lowest setting for most of the time, but it'll be interesting to experiment with all different settings and with different wheel sizes as well. As well as the adjustment in the chainstays, this bike also has an adjustable headset. So that can give an extra 1.5 degrees either way of adjustment of the head angle. And between these 2 things, the head angle can go from 65.9 degrees all the way to 63.3 degrees in the slackest setting. That makes it one of the slackest bikes of this travel that you can buy right now. I'm 190 centimeters tall and I like a big bike, so I almost always ride an extra large, and this is only a large. However, it does have a reach that varies from 500 to 513 depending on how you have that chainstay set up. And the wheelbase in the longest setting is more than 1300 millimeters. So this is a really long bike, and I think from previous experience, that should suit me really well. Part of the reason that we're doing more long-term test bikes at BikeRadar is that we can experiment with upgrading bikes and seeing what effect that has. So I asked Bold for the cheapest spec bike that they make, which is not what they sent me. They sent me a much more expensive build, including RockShox Lyric RCT3, DT Swiss EX1501 wheels, very nice wheels, SRAM GX Eagle drivetrain, SRAM Code RSC brakes. So it's not a cheap bike, I'm afraid. It costs 7,488 Swiss francs, which right now is about 5,670 pounds. Of course, that may change in the future. With all those posh parts and the carbon frame, this bike in size large weighs 14.7 kilograms, which is pretty respectable for a bike with 165 mil of travel out back and 170 in the front, 29-inch wheels, double down front tire. I think that's a pretty decent weight figure. So it's a bit naughty of Bold to send such a high-end test bike when I asked them for a cheaper one. But to be honest, I'm not too angry about it, because looking at this bike, I'm really excited to get riding it. It looks like it's going to be right up my street. What do you think about the concept of this bike? Do you think you need that much adjustability? And how do you feel about an internal shock? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.